school day, hero golden rule.
Board of Education, Mr. Stone speaking.
Mr. Conklin calling you, Mr. Stone. One moment, please. Here you are, Mr. Conklin.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Stone. Is that you, Conklin? Yes, it is, Mr. Stone.
I might as well have a Coke while I'm waiting.
Well, it's about time. I was beginning to think that Mattis High School had slid into the sea. Well, I have to step out. I'm back in it now. Yes, sir. What's that? Osgood, are you hissing me? No, sir, no. We must have a bad connection. It's a terrible connection. You say you're in your office? Yes, sir. I'll call you back. But, Mr. Stone... And for heaven's sakes, don't disappear again. Goodbye. Wait, Mr. Stone. Wait, This is the last straw.
What did he say, Mr. Conklin?
He said he's going to call me right back. Now I'm in deeper than ever.
Oh, we'll figure Stone is only a human being.
A human being who happens to be the head of our local Board of Education. Oh, this is awful.
Excuse me, Daddy, but the telephone in your office is ringing.
The telephone in your office is ringing.
What do you suggest, Harriet?
Well, I don't know, Daddy, but don't worry. I'm sure Walter won't fail us.
He'd better not. Now, Miss Brooks, I'm going over to inspect the classes that have been set up on the athletic field. I want you to call the board and talk to Mr. Stone.
Me? But what should I tell him?
Improvise.
Oh, but Mr. Conklin...
Call him off, Miss Brooks. I'm counting on you.
Oh, great. Well, I might as well get it over with.
What are you going to tell Mr. Stone, Miss Brooks?
I don't know yet, Harriet. I'll wait till he answers.
Hello, Mr. Stone speaking.
Hello, Mr. Stone. This is Miss Brooks at Madison High.
Yes?
I'm calling from Mr. Conklin's office, Mr. Stone. He asked me to call you.
Give me a double strawberry temptation, Mark.
Oh, he did. And what about, Miss Brooks?
About his not being able to talk to you for a while.
What in the world is that sound?
That? Oh, that's the radiator, Mr. Stone. It's defective.
Radiator? In June?
Well, they're just testing it. As a matter of fact, that's why Mr. Conklin can't talk to you. One of our students was just in his office, and this jet of hot water started out of the radiator, and Mr. Conklin jumped in front of the boy to save him and accidentally knocked out 6 of the boy's teeth.
That's too bad, Miss Brooks.
Oh, it was, Mr. Stone. But Mr. Conklin doesn't want the couch across the...
I don't care what happens. I'm gonna smoke this spliff, and if this kicks out again, I don't care. Fuck it. And if it doesn't and it's fucking gun smoke or Dragnet up next, we're gonna just be very upset.
Yeah. Let's get it. Yeah. You need to relax. It's how we go. Feedback, I'm trying to put my seat back. Don't worry about that other shit. You'll never get it back. Rise like a phoenix from the ashes, like they said I never do. The ones always talking, never got a clue. Who the fuck am I? Nah. Who the fuck is you? Riding with my thugs. We just trying to get this money. But they don't even keep the artillery. If they cross me, then it's R.I.P. It's for my real thugs. The ones that squeeze the thorn and bleed just to smell the rosebud. In the search of finer things, maybe God will notice me if I blink. That's what it sound like when the pistols sing. Mama checking the obituary, so but she don't see me. She cry when they talk about the boy on TV. Wake up some mornings and I don't want a baby. They say the criminal or gangster is all he'll ever be. Like there's nothing positive in me. I am positive you're not getting rid of me. At least not that easily. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell the devil he can wait. I got people on my serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell God to look away. Somebody wanna see it, yeah. I just wake up and crush the day. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell the devil he can wait. I got people on my serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell God to look away. This ain't what he wanna see. I just wake up and crush the day. Yeah, they say home is where the heart is, but back home I was living heartless. We all hard-headed, trying to prove whose head's the hardest. If thugging was an art, you could consider me an artiste. Most my friends grew up not knowing who their father is. Nothing in their fridge, you can see they ribs. Yep, this is how we live. Coming from a place that had nothing left to give, nothing left to take. There's nothing on the plate, but I'm dreaming of a state. Everything is safe. I gamble with my life, either 5 stars or behind bars. Love the jobs, we holding on. Pump up, pass it on, cause I feel pain too. What I've been through ain't what you've been through, but I feel you, yeah, it's true. Everything outside your window waiting to kill you. You think you know, but you ain't got a clue. Hear me out, Sherlock. Ain't no such thing as a sure shot. It's a cold block, and I just want what you got. It's real talk. Don't make a scene, just give it up. That's how it is. Where the fuck I'm from? Where the fuck I'm from? Where the fuck I'm from? Yeah. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell the devil he can wait. I got people on my serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell God to look away. Somebody wanna see it, yeah. I just wake up and crush the day. I just wake up. Yeah. Let's get it, yeah. You need to relax, surface. I don't need no feedback. I'm trying to put my seat back. Don't worry about that other shit. You'll never get it back. Rise like a phoenix from the ashes, like they said I never do. The ones always talking, never got a clue. Who the fuck am I now? Who the fuck is you? Riding with my dogs, we just trying to get this money. You can put that on me, we keep the artillery. If they cross me, then it's R.I.P. It's for my real thugs, the ones that squeeze the thorn and bleed just to smell the rosebud. In the search of finer things, maybe God will notice me if I play. That's what it sound like when the pistols sing. Mama checking the obituary, so she don't see me. She cry when they talk about the boy on TV. Wake up some mornings and I don't want a baby. They say the criminal or gangster is all you ever be. Like there's nothing positive in me. I am positive you're not getting rid of me, at least not that easily. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell the devil he can wait. I got people on my serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell God to look away. Somebody wanna see it, yeah. I just wake up and crush the day. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell the devil he can. I got people on my serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day in a rush to get paid. Tell God to look away. This ain't what they wanna see. I just wake up and crush the day. Yeah, they say home is where the heart is, but back home I was living heartless. We all hard-headed, trying to prove whose head's the hardest. If thugging was an art, you could consider me an artiste. Most my friends grew up not knowing who their father is. Nothing in their fridge, you can see they ribs. Yep, this is how we live. Coming from a place that had nothing left to give, nothing left to take. There's nothing on the plate, but I'm dreaming of a state. Everything is safe. I gamble with my life, either 5 stars or behind bars. Love the jobs, we holding on. Pump up, pass it on, cause I feel pain too. What I've been through ain't what you've been through, but I feel you, yeah, it's true. Everything outside your window waiting to kill you. You think you know, but you ain't got a clue. Hear me out, Sherlock. Ain't no such thing as a sure shot. It's a cold block, and I just want what you got. It's real talk. Don't make a scene, just give it up. That's how it is. Where the fuck I'm from? Where the fuck I'm from? Where the fuck I'm from? Yeah. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell the devil he can wait. I got people on my serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell God to look away. Somebody wanna see it, yeah. I just wake up and crush the day. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell the devil he can wait. I got people on my serve on the way. I just wake up and crush the day in the rush to get paid. Tell God to look away. This ain't what he wanna see. I just wake up and crush the day. Yeah.
not sure if I started and finished a joint in the same video yet today. That's a maybe.
I got that lyricism sprinkled with a lot of flow. I made my sauce authentic on a chopping board. Baby, it's spicy, be careful. Don't shake the bottle too much. Be gentle. It's kinda high on the Scoville level. Don't burn your tongue, don't get it.
Come on that way to shave, described on the tube. And no matter how they had shaved before, 3 out of every 4 got more comfortable, actually smoother shaves. Get Palmolive brush or Palmolive aftershave today. For mystery liberally sprinkled with laughs, listen to Mr. and Mrs. North, the exciting, fun-packed adventures of an amateur detective and his beautiful wife. Tune in Tuesday evening over most of these same stations. And be with us again next week at this same time for another comedy episode of Our Miss Brooks. Bob Lamont speaking. Stay tuned now for Life with Louis Chick over most of these stations. This is CBS.
Completely outdated, but it's hilarious.
It's on my fist, it's all on my jack. Don't you get the gist? I got the confidence, don't need a brand on my chest. Hey, I know what my value is. Hey, wealthy people don't need juice.
All across Canada, it's The Shift with John Jay.
Carried out the attack. The Somali military has not commented. The mummies of 22 ancient Egyptian rulers are being taken in procession through Cairo today to be transferred to a new museum in the south of the city. Sally Nabil is our correspondent in the Egyptian capital.
The mummies will be transferred in custom-made vehicles adorned with ancient Egyptian decorations. The cars will also be fitted with shock absorbers to safeguard the royal bodies against the bumpy Cairo streets. And local officials say each mummy will be placed inside a nitrogen capsule to protect it from contamination. When they reach the new National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, the mummies won't go on display immediately. It will take a team of experts nearly 2 weeks to further examine and carefully unpack them.
The renowned Pakistani singer Shaukat Ali, whose career spanned 5 decades, has died at age 76 after a long illness. Hailing from Punjab, Shaukat Ali was a folk singer whose music was loved in both the Pakistani and Indian parts of the region.
Some weird type of insect.
And that's the latest. BBC News.
Parasite thing come out of those mummies.
It's 6 minutes past 6 GMT. Welcome to Weekend from the BBC World Service with me, Julian Warwick. I have 2 guests with me throughout the programme to offer their perspectives on the news of the day. Barnaby Phillips, who's a former BBC and
John Jane here on Shift FM. That was Nickelback, and you're like, oh man, that ruined everything.
Yeah. And I miss those days. Video rental stores, the tape. Oh man, I used all that stuff.
That's retro. That's what retro.
Now they're looking for something new.
I'm trying to look into industries that are actually hiring right now. Perhaps the medical fields.
Amazon, maybe UPS. I'm trying to think of anything that's hiring as well.
Trading the bright lights for hospitals and logistics. Broadway's theatres will be closed till at least the end of January, and possibly longer. Some productions have been entirely cancelled. New York's world-famous entertainment boulevard now seems like a surreal film set. Deserted.
Where are all these people that were traveling that had all this money that they just dried up? Like, where did that money go?
Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Now, as gunshots echo across the wind-swept, snow-covered reaches of the wild Northwest, Quaker Puff Wheat and Quaker Quaker Puff Rice, the breakfast cereal shot from guns.
Okay, but this actually gave the full running commentary.
The
I'm sorry, I'm
challenge
criticizing
of the Yukon.
I'm criticizing the forensics.
It's Yukon King, swiftest and strongest lead dog of the Northwest, blazing the trail for Sergeant Preston of the Northwest Mounted Police in his relentless pursuit of lawbreakers. Run, King! Run!
They never mentioned cats in this.
Gold discovered in the Yukon. A stampede to the Klondike in the wild race for riches. Back to the days of the gold rush. With Quaker Puff Wheat and Quaker Puff Rice, bringing you the adventures of Sergeant Preston and his wonder dog Yukon King as they meet the challenge of the Yukon.
When it comes to breakfast, I'll skip it.
Oh, so you're a breakfast skipper. Say, just listen to this. Nutrition authorities say breakfast should furnish from 1/4 to 1/3 of the day's total food requirement.
You mean folks should eat good breakfast?
That's right. A lot of folks should eat a better breakfast. Eat a cereal. You can't go wrong if you eat plenty of cereal, fruit, milk, bread, and butter. So tomorrow, enjoy a heaping bowl full of delicious Quaker Puff Wheat or Quaker Puff Rice, topped with milk or cream and fruit. It's delicious. What's more, for added health benefits, natural great amounts of vitamin B1, niacin, and iron are restored in wheat and rice shot from guns. Yes, and talk about good. Just try 'em.
Thanks, mister. That sounds terrific.
Yes, everyone loves to eat Quaker Puff Rice and Quaker Puff Wheat. When Sam Jackson retired as constable, he bought off the general store in Horsehead. He was straightening his shelves when the day's first customer came in. It was 9-year-old Bobby Lennox.
Well, Bobby, you shopping on your own today?
I'm going to buy 3 pennies worth of candy.
Oh, fine, fine and dandy. I guess this case right here will have what you want. Now, these are 2%. These come to 1 cent each, and the candy's right here. You get a whole scoopful for a penny.
I know.
Look 'em over and make up your mind what you want. Is that your pa up front?
Yes, sir. He's reading a handbill about Grizzly Grayson.
I just put that handbill up this morning. I reckon a lot of folks will read it.
Is it really true that there's a $2,500 reward?
That's what it says, Bobby. $2,500 to the man who captures Grizzly Grayson.
Oh, golly, that's an awful lot of money.
It sure is. But on the other hand, son, Grizzly Grayson is an awful lot of crook.
Hello there, Sam.
Oh, hi, Lennox.
I was just reading that handbill.
It's a nice reward, huh?
$2,500. Gosh, enough to pay up all my debts and take Mary and Bobby and me back to the States. With enough left over to see us through till I get some kind of a job.
Quitter.
You're not counting on that reward money, are you?
No, I'm not counting on it. But there's no law to keep a man from dreaming. What's this Grizzly Grayson look like?
All I know about him is right on that handbill outside the door. Heavy beard, shaggy hair and eyebrows, and quick shooting with either hand.
I read all that.
They say Grizzly's mighty tricky, too. He's full of tricks. That's why he's been able to stay out of the hands of the law so long. Sam, that's gunfire. Something going on across the street outside the bank. Let me get this door open.
Can't be on the counter, stupid.
Is that Lennox? Someone said it's Grizzly Grayson. I see him. He's fired at anyone he sees. Grizzly Grayson, eh? I'm going to get that. Lennox, hold on. Come back here. You know, Madrid. Why you take this?
Daddy! Daddy, you're hurt!
I'll kill anyone who gets in my way. Lennox! Lennox! Bobby, look out. Get back out of the way.
His pockets bulging with stolen cash, Grizzly Grayson kept 2 guns blazing as he raced across the hard-packed snow to the end of the short street where a strong horse waited.
Come on, Bobby.
Daddy! Daddy! Take to me, Daddy! Take to me!
2 men lay on the snow in the middle of the road between the bank and the general store. One of these was Lennox, the father of Bobby.
Who's the other one?
They killed Daddy!
Let me have a look, Bobby. Let me see how hard your dad's hit. Dirty, ornery murderers. I'm sorry, Bob. I'm downright sorry.
There's nothing I can do to help you, Pop. By Juniper, I swear I'm going to do my level best to see that justice is done.
Won't Daddy ever? Isn't he?
He's gone, Bob. It'll comfort your ma to know he didn't suffer. Bob, look who's coming.
A dog team.
It's more than a dog team. It's Sergeant Preston and his lead dog, King. Well, that Monty couldn't have come here at a better time. Sergeant Preston. I heard the shooting. It was Grizzly Grayson. Lennox here and that other man you see got in his way when he came out of the bank after staging another robbery.
He went that way.
The ones who started out to chase him are coming back. How did he get away? He had a horse waiting at the end of the road. A horse? That's right, Sam. Howdy, Sergeant Preston. You should have been here 5 minutes earlier. Grizzly Grayson stuck up the bank.
So I hear. Nothing can be done for this man. I'll have to look at the other one.
We went after Grizzly until we saw he had a horse. When he hit the saddle, it was no use trying to chase him on foot. How about Lennox over there?
He's gone. Oh. And this man, he's beyond help, too.
Boys, there are a few horses here in town. Let's get him and go after that killer. How about you, Sergeant Preston? You want to borrow a horse?
Those too deep for horses, Sam. Before we do anything else, let's do something about Bob Lennox.
The poor young one.
Come with me,
It's like they invented the skidoo.
Bob, you and I have a man-sized job to do.
Yes, sir.
Your mother must be informed of this robbery and the shooting. You'd better go with me, son, while I tell her. I'll need your help.
Despite the fact that everyone in town admired and respected Sergeant Preston, most of the men thought he was making a mistake when he turned down the offer of a horse and set out on Grizzly Grayson's trail with King and the dog sled. Half a dozen men had started out on horses. They were far ahead of the Mounties. Deep snow had drawn heavily on the strength of the horses.
Why didn't Sam Jackson come with us? His horse is stronger than all these.
Oh, he wanted to talk to Mr. Lennox in the corner several hours before he started out. Hey, Constable, look dead ahead. See that clump of evergreen? Yeah. There's something behind it.
Yeah, I just saw it move. I think it's Grayson's horse.
Yeah, see, I told you his horse would tire just as quick as ours. Have your guns ready, boys.
I'm ready.
Be prepared to shoot on sight. Remember, there's a big reward that's waiting for the man who gets that murdering Grizzly Grayson. Now spread out and close in from all sides. Hey, come on now. Get up there. The horsemen fanned out and then converged on the opposite side of a clump of evergreen where an exhausted horse stood silently. But there was no sign of Grayson.
Well, where is he?
There's no place you can hide here. Don't spoil the footprints in the snow. Boys, he's put it over on us. Same as he's put it over on the law in other parts of the Yukon. He planned this job ahead and planned it well. Look at those tracks in the snow.
The tracks of a sled.
And dogs. Yeah, dogs. He brought us this far from home on horseback, and he had a dog team and a sled here waiting.
He's got no chance of overtaking him with these horses.
We'll have to go back to town and get dogs and sleds. Should listen to Sergeant Preston in the first place.
We'll probably meet him when we're on the way to town.
All right, let's get started.
Right.
Get up there. Grayson drove his dogs at a killing pace. Sometimes he rode the runners, and sometimes he ran behind the sled. He headed deeper and deeper into the mountains, looking for a hiding place. Then he saw a large man, bearded like himself, who panned one of the many mountain streams. An idea took form in the killer's evil brain.
Stranger. Those dogs look like they had a hard pull. Yeah, so they have. They've gone just about as far as they're going. My name is Bascom. I've got a shack not far from here if you'd like to rest up. I got other plans. They call for switching hat and vodka with you. Hey, put down that gun. All right. Yeah, put her down. Right on your head. That'll hold you till I switch clothes.
The constable and his men didn't follow their back trail. They returned to town by a more direct route, and therefore missed Sergeant Preston and his dogs. King followed Grayson's trail to the clump of evergreens. There, the Mountie read and understood the footprints in the snow.
Clear enough, King. Grayson had a sled and dogs waiting for him, as were the dogs were tied. Constable's party must have taken the killer's horse back to town. Looks like it's up to us to run down Grizzly Grayson. Like the work, King. Get the dogs in line. One thing! One!
Presently, the Mountie reached the place where Hank Bascom had been knocked out. The prospector had regained consciousness, but his head still ached from the blows.
Cracked me on the head for no reason at all. When I come to, I was wearing this hat and pocket. That crook took mine in their place.
So that's why King was over.
You just throw that to it, Rodney.
Grizzly Grayson had a heavy beard, too, just like yours.
Hey, see here. You suspect that I'm the murderer?
Not at all. Look at King. He knows the scent of the boots he's been following continues beyond here. He's trying to tell me.
Sounds like your dog's impatient.
We'll get on our way. Come on, boy.
Sam Jackson, owner of the strongest horse in town, had started out long after Sergeant Preston in the hope of finding the man who had killed his friend. He had traveled as an easy gait, saving his horse as much as possible. He had followed the double trail made by Grayson and Sergeant Preston, and he too came upon Hank Bascom.
There he is.
Sam saw the beard and the clothes of the killer and whipped out his gun.
Get him up! Get him up, you murderous bullcat! Hey, now hold on. If you throw it, you'll eat it. I got you at last, you $2,500 prize crook. No, not my name is Hank Bass. Your name is Grizzly Grayson. Now listen to me, you jughead. I was slugged by that crook and my clothes stolen. He left that dog team here and went ahead on foot. A likely story. It's the truth, Dad Reddit. Bobby Sergeant was here and he believed me. Sergeant Preston? Oh, I guess so. He went on a hunting for the killer. I reckon you're telling the truth all right enough. Yeah, I am. You can feel the lump on my head. That'll back my story. Maybe you're not Grizzly Grayson, but by Juniper, you'll do. What do you mean? That beard, them clothes. You'd fool anyone. You're worth $2,500. Come on, you're traveling back to Horsehead with me. But no one in town got a close look at Grayson's face. You'll get biased, Grayson, especially if you admit that you're here. Admit it. You think I'm local? Steady there. I'm still holding a gun on you. But listen to me. I'll take you in. You'll admit that you're Grizzly Grayson and let him throw you into jail. And hang? If I'm not lynched, I'll hang by law. You won't hang, I'll see to that. I'll collect the reward as soon as I turn you in. Then I'll slip you $500 and turn you loose from jail. But I don't want to get I'm not asking what you want. That reward goes for Grayson, dead or alive. And that's how I'll take you in, by thunder. Dead or alive.
We'll continue our story in just a moment. Man, oh man, here's a breakfast treat. It's got 'em all, It's Quaker Puffed Rice or Quaker Puffed Wheat. These famous ready-to-serve breakfast cereals are shot from guns. Yes, Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice are choice premium wheat or rice grains shot from guns. They're giant size, king size, colossal. They're actually exploded up to 8 times normal size.
Level of depression when I sign on one day and I say, I found out because I did a bunch of research with this shop from guns thing.
Even more important, Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice are nourishing. Yes, both delicious kinds furnish extra food values of restored natural grain amounts of vitamins B1, niacin, and iron. They're quick and easy to fix. For breakfast, lunch, supper, or after-school snack. Just pour them out from those big Quaker red and blue packages. Add milk or cream, top with your favorite fruit. And there you have it. A nutritious, thrifty, deluxe taste treat. Try both delicious kinds. For variety, eat Quaker Puffed Wheat one time, Quaker Puffed Rice the next. Just remember, they're never sold in bags or bulk. To get the original, crisp, fresh wheat or rice shot from guns, always look for the smiling Quaker man on the front of each big red and blue package. He's your guarantee that you're getting the one and only delicious Quaker Puffed Rice and Quaker Puffed Wheat.
Per minute bang can I get from this $1,000? I'm gonna let the whole world
Now to continue our story. Sam Jackson thought he had captured the notorious outlaw named Grizzly Grayson. He was considerably let down when he learned that the man was a harmless prospector who had been compelled to change clothes with the fugitive. But Sam was not one to give up easily. He decided that the townsman and the constable might be fooled as he had been. So he planned to take the prospector into town in the hope of collecting a $2,500 reward. Meanwhile, the real outlaw had kept going deeper and deeper into the mountains after switching clothes with Bascom. Sergeant Preston followed relentlessly, with his great dog King picking out the trail.
On King! On, you husky!
The Mountie reached a blunt plateau, a wide expanse of mesa that was as flat as the top of a table. Then, far ahead, he saw the killer.
There he is, King. That's the man we want. On, King, get him! He can't get away. What's how ends in a sure drop? Go on, boy!
Grayson ran awkwardly. He ran half-turned toward Preston and the dogs. He fired wildly without taking aim.
Grayson, look out! You're nearing the edge! Look ahead!
The killer wasn't looking ahead. He was watching the Mountie and the charging dog, who was much nearer.
Watch it, Grayson! There's a drop!
Grayson went on in the grip of panic. He didn't hear the sergeant. He didn't look ahead, and he didn't see the sudden drop. Suddenly, the big plateau came to an abrupt end.
Look out!
Grayson went out into space. When Preston reached the edge of the plateau, he saw the lifeless form of the killer on the rocks 100 yards below.
Well, King, he beat the law. It's a long roundabout trip to the floor of that canyon, but we'll have to make it, boy. Have to bring the body out and see if we can find the stolen cash. Get the dogs in line, King. We'll get started.
It was a hard trip to the rocks where Grayson had died, and an even harder trip back to town. It was evening when the Mountie and his tired dogs met the constable at the edge of Horsehead. The dogs halted and flopped to the snow to rest.
Well, Sergeant, glad to see you got back here. Too bad you had a wild goose chase.
Wild goose chase?
Yeah. Old Sam Jackson put it over on all of us. Went out single-handed and brought back the killer.
The killer?
Sure. Grayson. Grizzly Grayson. Brought him back alive. Oh, you got a hand at the Sam.
You mean to say Sam Jackson brought in Grayson?
That's right. He's in the jailhouse, and he's as meek as a lamb.
How did Jackson get him?
Well, me and the posse went out on horses, but had to come back for dogs. Sam started later and didn't travel fast enough to wear out his horse. Just kept going till he found Grayson in camp. Got the drop on him and brought him in. Now, what's the matter, Sergeant?
Did the prisoner admit that he was Grayson?
Why, sure. How could he deny it? A dozen men identified him.
By his clothing?
Clothing and his beard.
What about the stolen money?
Well, that hasn't been found. I guess Grayson will keep the hiding place a secret in the hope he can make a deal with the law. Return the cash for leniency.
Has Jackson applied for the reward?
Sure he has. He's got a right to it.
He has not.
What?
Grayson's not in jail. He was killed trying to escape. His body and the cash he stole from the bank are on my sled under that robe there.
Right, then who's the Oh, gosh, Sergeant Preston, I just don't know what to make of it. The prisoner admitted he was Grizzly Grayson.
Sam Jackson's trying to get away with something. We'll find out what it is.
You got any idea who's in jail taking Grayson's name?
Yes, if he's wearing Grayson's clothing, he's probably an old prospector from the hills, a man named Bascom.
Hey.
Take care of my dogs and sled and Grayson's body, will you, Constable?
Yeah, but what are you going to do?
I'm going to see the prisoner.
Well, Jim Herkimer's on guard, you know him.
Yes.
He'll unlock the door for you.
All right. I'll see you later. Come on, King.
Here you are, Sergeant Preston. Be careful. Grayson's dangerous.
So I've heard.
Come on, King. Oh, if you want anything.
Well, Bascom?
I'm Grayson.
Grayson, eh? You've changed your name since we met in the hills.
Fooled you, didn't I? You believed me when I said I'd change clothes with the man you was trailing. Fooled your dog, too.
You didn't fool anyone. What's the idea, Bascom? Did Sam Jackson promise you a share of the reward he hopes to collect?
I told you my name was Grayson.
Bascom, you can't get away with this.
We'll see. We'll see.
For the last time, will you tell me the truth?
I said I was Grayson. I'm sticking to it.
Very well. I've given you a chance to come clean. Put on that parka.
Parka? Why?
It's a cold night, and it's a long way to Whitehorse.
Whitehorse? I'm not going to Whitehorse.
Oh, yes, you are.
But I wanted here in Horsehead.
Grayson's already been tried and convicted of murder in Whitehorse. The hangman's waiting. Now get into that parka.
Hold on, this ain't right.
Don't tell me the law.
But I didn't think
the parka.
No, I put that on. Don't set that dog on me. Well, listen, Sergeant.
Governor.
Yeah?
Open this door. Tell the constable I'm taking the prisoner to the hangman in Whitehorse. All right.
No, I don't want to hang.
This way, Grayson. Just go straight ahead.
I didn't figure on things turning out like this. Now listen, Sergeant, I lied to you.
Yes, you said your name was Bascom. You certainly fooled me when we met in the hills. Fooled King, too.
Well, no, I don't mean that. Just now I lied. I'm not Grayson. I am Bascom. I said it was Grayson because Sam Jackson promised me a share of the reward.
Why would you want a share of the reward? What good would it do you if you're going to hang?
Sam said I wouldn't hang. He promised to get me out of jail, and he swore he'd set me free.
Oh, wait a minute, Herkimer. So Jackson is going to set you free. When?
Tonight. He said he'd come masked and overpower the guard. Jackson said that. No one would ever know I wasn't Grizzly Grayson, so Sam figured he could collect the reward for bringing me in even if I did get loose.
I see.
I didn't have no choice. Jackson said I could come willingly and have a share of the reward, or he'd shoot me and bring me in dead.
Where can I find Sam Jackson?
Well, he said he was going to call on Mrs. Lennox. Was her husband who was shot this morning by Grayson?
Oh, yes, Bobby's mother. I know where she lives.
Yeah.
I'll see Jackson there.
I'd like to call on Jackson with you, Sergeant Preston.
No, Herkimer. You take Bascom to the edge of town, see he starts back to his camp.
You let me go.
Get back to your camp and stay there and hurry before I change my mind.
Yes, sir. I won't give you no more trouble.
Go with him, Herkimer. And be sure he leaves town.
Herkimer left the jail with Bascom, and a minute later, Sergeant Preston and the great dog King made their way through the darkness to the house that had been saddened by the murder of Bob Lennox. Through the window, the Mountie saw Sam Jackson talking to the widow.
I'd like to know what he's telling her, King.
The two were at the far end of the small house.
There's a window at the rear. If we go around to that, we may be able to hear him. I don't like to eavesdrop, King, but this is a mighty unusual situation.
With his dog, the sergeant moved to a rear window. Inside, Sam Jackson was talking to Mrs. Lennox.
Now, you might just as well take that cash, Mrs. Lennox. You've sure got a right to it.
But Mr. Jackson, $2,000.
The reward for Grizzly Grayson is $2,500. And by rights, it should go to your husband. He was after that reward when he went gunning for Grayson this morning. What's more, he'd have got the ornery killer if he hadn't had the bad luck to stop a bullet. Now, you take that cash, and I'll see that Bob's debts are paid up out of the other $500.
But you haven't collected the reward. This is really your own money.
I'll collect when the reward is paid. But you can't wait. Bob wanted you and his son to be back in the States. If you leave here first thing in the morning, you can just about catch the last boat. You wait around till the reward is paid, and you'll have to wait till the spring's thaw. Well, he'd want you to take that cash and get out of the Yukon. So you just get your things together and figure on starting out tomorrow morning.
What? You, Matt?
Hey, what is it?
Come on, boys, here he is.
What does this mean?
We've come to see this crook.
Now, you see
We know
here.
all about your scheme. The banker will fix you.
Banker Morton.
Herkimer told me everything. Jackson, you tried to pass off a man named Bascom as Grizzly Grayson, the crook who robbed my bank.
No, please, listen, Mr. Morton.
You hope to collect the reward for that crook's capture. I'm surprised you didn't try to collect my personal reward as well. But then you couldn't collect that without recovering the bank's money that was stolen this morning.
You mean he didn't really capture Grizzly Grayson?
No, he didn't. We ought to throw Jackson in jail. I'll fix him. I'll break you, Jackson. I'll use all my influence to put you out of business.
I didn't mean no harm. I wasn't going through with any claims for that reward. I just wanted to help Mrs. Lennox. I knew she wouldn't take no cash from me, but I figured she'd take it if she thought it was reward.
I like this story. I'm telling the truth. I don't believe you.
I do.
Well, it's Sergeant Preston. Sergeant, where'd you come from?
I was outside the back window. I heard most of what went on. I'm satisfied that Jackson simply wanted to help Mrs. Lennox. I don't think he had any selfish aim. He's already given his own money to Mrs. Lennox. At best, he could only break even if he collected the reward for the capture of Grizzly Grayson.
How about the $1,000 I offered for the return of the money stolen from my bank?
You have it with you, Mr. Morton?
Yes, I got it ready when I heard about the capture.
Would you pay it before your stolen money was returned?
Well, no.
Then how could Jackson claim it fraudulently? There's no way Jackson could benefit by putting Bascom in jail in Grayson's place. He did it only to help the wife and son of his best friend.
Here, Sam, I can't take this money now that I know it's your own cash and that you'll not get it back.
Dad, right it. You won't be able to go back to the States like Bob wanted.
That trick of yours gave Grayson plenty of time to make good his escape. We called off the manhunt when you came in with the imposter.
You're wrong, Herkimer. Grayson didn't escape. He's dead. He was killed when he fell into a canyon. I brought him back. And Mr. Morton, I've also brought back your money.
You have? All of it?
I'm sure you'll find it intact.
Well, then you, Preston, you're entitled to the reward.
No, King's the one who ran the outlaw down.
Your dog?
Yes.
Well, in that case, I suppose the dog will claim the reward.
The government reward for the capture of Grayson will not be claimed. As for your personal offer of $1,000 for the return of the money stolen from your bank...
I'll pay it. I'll be glad to pay it.
King has no use for money. I suggest you give it to Mrs. Lennox.
Oh, that's the chicken.
That's what I
That'll
said.
take her and Bobby back to the States. How about it, Morton? Well, I'll be happy to.
I'll bring you cash within the next half hour.
Very well. Here, Mrs. Lennox, I guess I can take the sergeant's word that the cash will be in my hand soon. Here, take this money now.
Oh, no.
Mr. Morton, Sergeant Preston, Sam Jackson, I'm so grateful to all of you. And you, King. You were the one who really made it possible for Bobby and me to go back home. You're a grand dog.
King's embarrassed. Come on, King. We'll get the banker's cash, and then we'll call this case closed.
In just a moment, Sergeant Preston will give you a preview of Monday's adventure. Here's a tip. Hurry to your grocer. Get new model farm packages of Quaker Puff wheat and Quaker Puff rice. The ready-to-serve breakfast cereals shot from guns. Yes, your grocer now has them. You get 46 colorful models of farm buildings, farm equipment, and farm animals. These models come on 8 different packages of delicious wheat or rice shot from guns. What's more, these exciting models are yours at no extra cost. Don't miss out. Start building yourself a model farm pronto. And remember, these keen new models come only with swell-tasting, crisp, tender Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice. They're waiting for you now on your grocer's shelves, so hurry! These radio dramas, a feature of the Challenge of the Yukon Incorporated, are created and produced by George W. Trendle and directed by Fred Flowerday. This story was written by Fran Stryker. The part of Sergeant Preston is played by Paul Sutton. They are brought to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the same time by Quaker Puff Wheat and Quaker Puff Rice, the breakfast cereals shot from guns. Listen Monday when Sergeant Preston and Yukon King meet the challenge of the Yukon in the case of Rogue's Progress.
Blackie was a dog who had been so badly mistreated that he feared and hated all men. He was known as a killer. But I couldn't believe that he was really vicious at heart. That's why I agreed to train him. To try and train him, I should say. It was dangerous work, every second of it. And I was more than thankful I had King to help me.
Be sure to hear this exciting adventure Monday. For a delicious hot breakfast, eat Quaker Oats.
The giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats. Yes, the giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats.
Delicious, nutritious, makes you feel ambitious.
The giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats.
Say, boys and girls, do you want to be a star someday in sports and activities? Then start on good Quaker Oats breakfast tomorrow. Because nourishing oatmeal gives you more growth and endurance than any other whole grain cereal. Still less than 1 penny a serving. Quaker and Mother's Oats are the same.
That's what an institution statement.
This is J. Michael wishing you goodbye, good luck, and good health from Quaker Puff Wheat and Quaker Puff Rice. So long. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Colgate Dental Cream to clean your breath while you clean your teeth and help stop tooth decay. And Luster Cream Shampoo for soft, glamorous, caressable hair. Bring you Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden. It's time once again for another comedy episode of Our Miss Brooks under the direction of Al Lewis. Well, the season for colds is just about over. But our Miss Brooks, who teaches English at Madison High School, managed to have one that hung on all last week.
The cold didn't bother me as much as the fact that it put me a full week behind in the pursuit of my favorite extracurricular activity, a biology teacher named Philip Boynton. For while I was steaming myself with an inhalator, Mr. Boynton was being steamed by another female English teacher, one Daisy Enright. And as far as I'm concerned, one Daisy Enright is one too many. But by last Friday morning, the cold at least was licked. And as I sat down to breakfast with my landlady, she complimented me on my appearance.
You look fine, Connie, the picture of health. You really have the bloom of youth in your cheeks.
Oh, thanks, Mrs. Davis. I feel a lot better. But these rosy cheeks aren't all the bloom of youth. There's just too much starch in the face towels.
Sorry, dear. I'll limpen them out a bit.
Yes, they could use a little limpening.
Now, go ahead and drink your juice, dear. We can talk later.
What kind of juice is this, Mrs. Davis?
It's a combination. I take the juice of an orange, some lemons, and a grapefruit, and then I put them all together.
You're evil.
But this color, why is it so red?
I guess maybe I whipped them too hard. No, I know what it is. This morning I added some tomato juice.
Tomato juice?
I figured I might as well use it up. There wasn't enough to pour on my farina anyway. It's very healthy, Connie. Now go ahead, get it down.
That isn't the big trick. Which reminds me, have you planned dinner for tonight?
Not yet, Connie.
Good. I wonder if you'd do me a big favor.
I'd like to, Connie, but I'm rather short this week myself. And
it isn't money this time. I just thought it'd be nice if you went over to your sister Angela's house for dinner. You see, Mr. Boynton has invited me to a barbecue.
He has? Where, Connie?
Here in our backyard. He knows we've got a portable barbecue wagon, but in return for the use of our grounds and equipment, he's consented to let me furnish the food also.
How very generous of him. But I suppose you want me to visit my sister so that you can be alone with Mr. Boynton.
You guessed my secret, Mrs. Davis. I haven't had one date with him all week long. And he's seen Miss Enright 3 times.
Well, she's nothing to worry about, Connie. My goodness, no normal man would look at her cross-eyed.
And believe me, that's the best way to look at her. But you know, Mrs. Davis, she's insidious. She has a way of clinging to a man like a piece of lint.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Boynton will brush her off when he spent the evening alone with you, Connie. I'll call Angela on the phone and tell her I'm coming over tonight.
Oh, thanks, Mrs. Davis. I knew you'd come through for me.
By the way, how did you make this date with Mr. Boynton?
Last night. He called just after midnight.
Oh, isn't that rather late for him?
Oh, he apologized for calling at such an hour, but he had taken Miss Enright to a movie, and after he took her home, he felt awfully restless. Just couldn't sleep, he said.
What movie did they see?
Vaughn Monroe in Singing Guns. Mr. Boynton said the picture was fine, but every time he dozed off, the guns stopped singing and Vaughn Monroe started.
Well, let's hope tonight is the start of a new Mr. Boynton. Romantically speaking, that is.
Mm-hmm.
With the two of you alone in the backyard, sitting under the moon. Who knows what primitive instincts may stir in him.
Perhaps you're right. I remember last year about this time, we were sitting in the yard and the moon was very full.
Yes, Connie.
The stars were out, too, millions of them. And as a soft breeze rippled through my hair, Mr. Boynton turned and looked right into my face.
And what did he say, Connie?
He said, "Isn't this a keen night for trapping gophers?"
Here's some mail you forgot to bring from home, Daddy.
I thought you might want to read it before school starts.
Thank you, Harriet. Just put it on my desk, right behind the little neon sign that says Osgood Conklin, Principal.
Okay. Oh, Daddy, before I forget, how about inviting Miss Brooks over for dinner tonight?
What? Me invite Miss Brooks to our home for dinner?
Yes, Daddy, I think it would be sweet. After all, she hasn't been too well during the past week, and you've been rather severe with her.
I've been severe with her? You realize that in the past week she has twice dropped a typewriter on my left foot, broken my glasses, and spilled ink all over my newest tie?
But those were all accidents, Daddy. By inviting her over, it would show that you forgave her. Besides, Mother says we owe Miss Brooks a dinner since last Thanksgiving.
That's nothing to be thankful for.
Mother's making codfish balls tonight, and I thought...
Codfish balls? Again?
Yes, Daddy. I've asked Walter Denton to come, but Mother always makes plenty of...
Just a minute, Harriet. You say we owe Miss Brooks a dinner?
That's right.
Well, this might be the perfect night to get it over with. Between the codfish balls and that lame-brained dunce Walter Denton, it's a wasted night anyhow. Yes, Harriet, I'll invite your Miss Brooks to dinner.
Thanks, Daddy. But I wish you didn't feel that way.
Don't mention his name again. Now, tell me, has Miss Brooks arrived at school yet?
That's a timely question, Daddy. She's just coming up the walk. I can see her through your window.
Good, good. Now you run along, child. I'll attend to everything.
All right, Daddy. See you during lunch period.
Now, let's see. I'll have to meet Miss Brooks in the corridor accidentally. Don't want her to think I'm running after her. She should be coming in the front door about now. That's approximately 8 paces to my door. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now. Good morning, Miss Brooks.
Oh, Mr. Conklin, forgive me for screaming. I thought you were leaping at my throat.
What an odd notion. Yes, well, let's not dwell on it. Will you step into my office for a moment, please?
Yes, sir.
Now, sit down, Miss Brooks. As you know, I'm not much given to fraternization with faculty members. However, my daughter Harriet and my dear wife have put the heat on me to see... they've suggested that I invite you over for dinner tonight.
Oh, how charming, but I'm afraid I couldn't make it tonight, Mr. Conklin.
We're having codfish balls.
That isn't my reason for refusing. But I've planned a barbecue for tonight. This May weather is so lovely.
A barbecue. What are you going to barbecue?
Miss Enright. Spare ribs, probably.
Barbecued spare ribs.
With plenty of savory hot sauce.
And potato salad.
And those wonderful juicy frankfurters.
Smeared with mustard.
And sweet corn.
Dripping with butter and salt.
And homemade biscuits.
Loaded with honey. And a tossed green salad.
Yes, sir. Now, if you'll excuse me, Mr. Conklin.
And where are you going?
To the infirmary. I've made a pig of myself. It was very nice of you to ask me over, Mr. Conklin, but if it's all the same to you, may I have a rain check?
Indeed you may, Miss Brooks. I shall invite you to my outdoor barbecue the very next time it rains.
Excuse me, Mr. Boynton, but I'd like to talk to you for a moment before your first class.
Oh, come in, Miss Brooks. I was just grooming one of my guinea pigs. Had to cut his nails and comb his hair.
Why don't you just let his nails grow? Then he could comb his own hair. I just stopped in to confirm our date for tonight. The backyard is all ours.
Tonight? Don't you mean tomorrow night, Miss Brooks?
Well, no. When you spoke to me on the phone last night, you said tomorrow night, which means tonight.
Oh, but I've got a tentative appointment with Miss Enright for tonight. You see, it was after midnight when I called you last night, and I was thinking of it as being today. So when I said tomorrow night, I meant tomorrow night from today, not tonight.
Put a zither behind that, and you could open at Grauman's Chinese. Look, Mr. Boynton, just between you and me and Miss Enright, don't you think you've been seeing enough of the lamppost lately? I mean... You know what I mean.
Well, if you mean I've been seeing Miss Enright too much, it hasn't been my idea at all. It started when you and I had a date last Tuesday night. Miss Enright came to me Monday and told me I might as well forget about it. She said she had an idea you were going to catch a cold.
She had an idea I was going to catch a cold?
She mentioned something about transferring a student to your class who had a very bad cold.
How do you like that germ warfare? Well, you'll just have to postpone, Miss Enright, I'm afraid. I've made all arrangements to hold our barbecue tonight.
Well, it isn't the gentlemanly thing to do, but if you insist, I'll put her off.
I insist. Shove her off. What time can I expect you, Mr. Boynton?
Well, it doesn't do to start too early. That is to say, it's more fun when it's dark out.
Now you're talking.
The fire looks so much prettier at night. I love cooking out of doors. I used to be a Boy Scout, you know.
What do you mean used to be?
You're right at that. I'm still a scoutmaster. But as I was saying, once I get my fire started...
That'll be the day. I'm sorry, Mr. Boynton. Please continue.
Well, I cook my ribs first, then I cook my frankfurters. After eating, I just like to sit around in the moonlight with something in my arms I really care for.
Oh, you're cooking with more than charcoal. But what, may I ask, is the something in your arms that you really care for?
For my ukulele, of course.
Of course. The better to slug the gophers with, my dear.
Our Miss Brooks, starring Eve Arden, will continue in just a moment. But first, here is Vern Smith. Now, tests published in authoritative dental literature show that when teeth are brushed right after eating, Colgate Dental Cream stops tooth decay best. 2 years research at 5 leading universities, hundreds of case histories, shows that when used as directed, Colgate Dental Cream stops tooth decay best. Yes, exhaustive tests show the Colgate way best to prevent decay. Better than any other home method of oral hygiene known today. Based on both clinical and X-ray examinations, the Colgate way stops more decay for more people than ever before reported in all dentifrice history. Even more important, there were no new cavities whatever for more than 1 out of 3 who used Colgate Dental Cream as directed. Think of it, not even one new cavity in 2 full years. No other dentifrice, paste or powder, ammoniated or not. No other dentifrice has proof of such results. The best results ever reported for a dentifrice of any type. So always use Colgate to clean your breath while you clean your teeth. And remember, when you follow the Colgate way, Colgate Dental Cream stops tooth decay best.
Well, when lunch period arrived, Mr. Boynton had to stay in his lab and groom some more guinea pigs. So I headed for the school cafeteria by myself. It was pretty crowded when I got there, but fortunately Walter Denton had saved a place for me at a corner table. I set my tray on it and sat down. There we are. Very nice of you to keep this place for me, Walter.
Glad to have incurred your pleasure, old friend. I count the day well spent, during which, by some slight act of thoughtfulness...
Thanks very much.
Yes, in fact, my cup of joy is running over.
Walter, quick, get a napkin.
What happened?
Your cup of joy was joined by my cup of soup. Luckily, I got out of the way in time.
No, here, I'll mop up the table. Oh, sorry, Miss Brooks. I guess the spring weather's making me more poetic than usual. And besides, my romantic affairs have taken a rather surprising turn.
Good for you, Walter. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to eat what's left of this soup.
Now, go right ahead, Miss Brooks. But while you do, I've got a problem to thrash out. I simply cannot understand Mr. Conklin.
Give that boy a brand new Hudson.
He's an enigma, Miss Brooks. You take the night before last, for instance. I was sitting on the porch of his house with his daughter, Harriet. About 10 o'clock, he came out for a smoke and caught me holding your hand.
What did he do?
Well, all I can say is I wish I'd been holding his foot instead of her hand. Yeah, he almost kicked me down the porch steps.
Almost.
Fortunately, I dove over the side. Today, Harriet invited me over for dinner.
Well, that's no problem. Take your diving helmet and go.
You know, I never could understand Mr. Conklin's antipathy towards me, but today it didn't seem so bad. In fact, when I met him in the hall and told him I was having dinner at his home, he was practically civil to me. And oh, but here I am babbling about me, and I haven't even asked about your recent ailment. Are you all over your cold?
Yes, Walter, I am.
Oh, good. Colds can lead into dangerous things.
Oh, I know. Laryngitis, bronchial trouble, Miss Enright.
Oh, no, I get it. While you were sick, she had a couple of dates with Mr. Boynton, huh?
She had 3, but who counts? Miss Enright's a very fine English teacher, and as a fellow faculty member, she's entitled to go out with whomever she pleases. It's none of my business.
Until she goes from English to biology.
Now, Walter.
No, I don't blame you for getting annoyed, Miss Brooks. Miss Enright's pretty corny when the way she flirts.
Well, now that you mentioned it, I can only say she's about as square as they come. The device she employed yesterday proves that.
What device?
When she saw Mr. Boynton leaving school, she dropped her handkerchief.
No kidding. But why should that get you so sore, Miss Brooks?
It landed right on top of mine. Let's finish lunch, Walter.
And if it wasn't for Mr. Boynton, I guess you and Miss Enright would get along a lot better. She really likes you a lot. I can tell by the way she talks about you. Why, only this morning she said something very complimentary about your hair.
Miss Enright did?
Yes, ma'am. She said you've got the loveliest blonde hair she ever saw on a brunette.
She did?
Yeah. And then she said her hair was absolutely natural.
That's very true, Walter. It's one of the most natural wigs I've ever seen. I'm sorry if I sound bitter, but I guess I'll snap out of it after tonight.
Oh, you got a date with Mr. Boynton?
Yes, Walter. We're having a barbecue in my backyard. You know, spare ribs and romance, moonlight and mustard.
Oh, it sounds dynamic. Uh-oh. Look who's headed this way.
Oh, the cafeteria certainly is packed today. Oh, hello, Walter.
Hi, Miss Enright.
Do you mind if I sit here with you and your mother?
His mother?
Oh, it's you, Miss Brooks. Forgive me for taking you for Walter's mother, darling. My eyes must be playing tricks on me.
I guess it's still too light out for you. Pull up a sturdy chair and sit down, Miss Enright.
Thanks. You're a dear.
You're an antelope, but sit down anyway.
Oh, dear, I forgot to bring my coffee along. Would you go get me a cup, Walter?
Okay, Miss Enright. How do you want it? Cream and sugar?
No, just sugar, please.
Never mind that either, Walter. I've got some lumps for her right here. I took some extra cubes, Miss Enright.
Oh, how thoughtful. But then you always were considerate of others. Take this past week, for example. You didn't interfere at all while Mr. Boynton was dating me.
Nobody knows better than you do, Miss Enright, that I was home every night with a cold.
Well, that shouldn't depress you, dear. At least it proves there's something you can catch. Of course, I felt a bit guilty about taking advantage of your indisposition, but after all, you were cooped up in that stuffy little room of yours, and Mr. Boynton does love the great outdoors, and I am the outdoor type.
I'll say you are. Nobody ever invites you in. Look, Miss Enright, my cold is better now, and I think it only fair to warn you that Mr. Boynton and I are going to take up our relationship exactly where we left it.
Oh, poor Mr. Boynton. And to think for 5 whole days he hasn't had to wear his track shoes. Tell me, dear, has he granted you an evening in the foreseeable future?
In the very foreseeable future, Miss Enright. In fact, before I leave you to your black coffee and thoughts to match, there's something I think you should know. Mr. Boynton's coming to a barbecue tonight in my backyard.
Oh, how wonderful for him. He'll need all the fresh air he can get. That is, he does seem to enjoy himself in the open spaces. Take the evenings he spends in my backyard. We dine under the stars. Then Mr. Boynton strums his ukulele, and I sit in the hammock and sing.
In the hammock? That's very unnatural.
Unnatural?
When you sing, you should be sitting on a fence.
Gosh, I thought school would never end today. You want me to take you home? We might as well spend the afternoon there if we're going to have dinner with your folks.
I'm afraid that's all off, Walter. There isn't anything to eat at our house.
What?
It seems Daddy went home for lunch and Mother asked him to fix the vacuum cleaner. Well, he fixed it all right, only he did it in the kitchen.
I don't quite follow you, my sweet.
Mother had everything for dinner laid out on top of the stove. And before Daddy knew it was fixed, the vacuum sucked up all the codfish balls.
Are you sure that was an accident?
Who can tell? Daddy never was very fond of codfish. But Mother was so upset she just picked up and went over to Grandmother's for the rest of the day. We're on our own as far as dinner's concerned.
Gee, that's too bad, Harriet. Wait a minute. If I can't be your guest tonight, how would you like to be mine?
Walter, that sounds just like a proposal.
What does? Oh, how would you like to be mine? No, I meant, how would you like to be mine for dinner? Don't you understand? My guest for dinner, I meant.
But, Walter, you can't afford to take me to a restaurant.
Oh, you're very right, lovely one. But I won't have to take you to a restaurant. I'll take you to a dandy-free outdoor barbecue. Where? At Miss Brooks' place. She's having Mr. Boynton over for dinner.
But won't they want to be alone?
Well, she'll want to be alone, but you know how bashful he is. As soon as he's in the presence of a member of the opposite sex, he just dummies up. Now, we'll be doing Miss Brooks a favor to go. Well, don't you see, Harriet? We'll save her hours of groundwork trying to warm him up.
But we haven't been invited, Walter.
What's that got to do with anything? Look, we'll only stay until we've got the ball rolling. We'll leave as soon as Mr. Boynton is nice and relaxed. And we're full of ribs and frankfurters.